Okay. Shiva, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So what we have sorry. So what we've discussed in the last class is basically we're trying to come up with a new alternative for fast RCNN. So fast RCNN, what it does, basically, I don't want to rewrite it completely, but actually RNN, you see, sorry, not RNN, RCNN basically uses selective search for recent proposals. Plus, it will take the cropped image, whatever the proposed image that is there in the box, and that will be sent to CNN. Okay, since number of boxes that will be proposed are very high, sending each cropped image to the CNN is extremely time consuming. So definitely our CNN is very slow. Now what we do is we actually overcome this to a certain extent, okay, using faster RCNN. So what exactly faster RCNN do? Okay, along with this, it's not only with CNN, it also uses SVM for telling whether that particular cropped image is having cropped image in the sense the image that is there in the proposed box. So has having an object or not, and also it will also give the adjusted coordinates. That means regression model also will be run. Some regression model. That means how many models have to run? CNN, SVM, regression for each bounding box that was proposed. And if I propose 2000, then it will be 2000 times I have to run CNN model, SVM model, and adjusted regression models. Then it's very time consuming. Now what we have done, we came up with a fast RCNN. It will say that I don't want to pass each proposed box and its image that was present in the box. Instead, I pass the entire image to the CNN. Okay, let the CNN run only once, and the output of that will be feature extracted or feature map, FM feature map. Now for that feature, for this feature map, you run selective search. Earlier selective search, the corresponding box, the boxed image, and the corresponding CNN. This is a sequence. Now selective search is applied on the feature map, not on the image. Then again you run SVM, or not SVM actually, an extension of an extended CNN. Extended CNN. You are not using traditional SVM or regression. You're just extending the CNN to perform both the classification as well as regression. Okay. So definitely, since we are running image to the CNN only once, definitely this is faster. Now, but still, this can be made much more faster, and people actually came up with a technique called faster RCNN. Now, before we get motivated on coming up with a new alternative for faster RCNN, we should identify what is the drawback of fast RCNN. Okay, so the drawback is the selective search. So whether you apply selective search on the image, on the cropped image, or whether you apply selective search on the feature map, whether you apply selective search on the original input image, or whether you apply selective search on the output of the CNN, the number of boxes will be very high. Okay, so that means the fast RCNN is better than traditional RCNN, but it is not up to the mark. Now, people came up with a thought, why can't we? Because selective search is not a neural network, it's just clustering similar pixels and proposing a box. Now, people came up with this thought, why can't we even perform selective search using CNN? Till now, we have not done the implementation of selective search or the behavior of selective search using CNN. Now, why can't we do that? It's a good thought actually, right? Because I don't want my boxes to be very high. Maybe if I do using CNN, it would be reduced. Okay, the idea is perfectly fine. But how do we do this? That's more important. Think, guys, how can we do this? Okay, what should be the architecture look like? The one idea, see, if I'm using CNN for selective search, that means for selective search, I'm using CNN. For selective search is nothing but boxes, proposing boxes, different sized boxes. The image is given to CNN. The classification is done with CNN. The regression is also done with CNN. That means the entire object detection is done using CNN. Whether it's one CNN or two CNNs, that's a different story. Actually, we'll use two CNNs. One is for selective search, one is for the image classification and image regression coordinates. So basically, we are using only one architecture, one in the sense, one type of architecture CNN, but two instances of CNN. Okay, but how do we actually put this into a architecture point of view? Maybe let me draw like this. I'll take the input image. This is my input image. Now, from the input image, what is the first step that I do in any object detection algorithm? I want to identify the possible places where the object exists. Possible places where the object exists. See, you may get a doubt, sir. The human being can easily recognize where exactly the object exists in the image. See, human beings can do it, but system can't do it. So we tend to propose in various ways. Now, what we're telling is maybe I'm proposing a network. Maybe I don't know what will happen here. Maybe I'm just trying to have one CNN and let me call this as RPN. Okay, it's actually called the full form. Maybe it's called Region Proposal Network. Region Proposal Network. So as the name itself indicates, region is nothing but box. Proposal network. That means the network which proposes the boxes. Each box is probably an indication of an object present in the image. It may or may not. But each region that I propose may have a box or may not have a box, but I tend to propose and finally filter out all the n number of boxes to k boxes where k is very, very less than n. Okay, so basically I'm proposing boxes. For that I'm using CNN. Okay, the output of this, I am giving to ROI pooling. ROI pooling, you remember, guys? It's basically a max pooling done on the feature map. The output of CNN is feature map. Now, why I have to do ROI pooling? I already told, because repeating will kill the time. So max, it's basically a max pooling done on feature map. Okay, why we have to do? Because the proposed boxes that is given by RPN will have its own size. So one box will be of this size, one box of this size, one box of this size. Different boxes will be detected by RPN. That different sizes should not be there. Did I discuss that? Did I actually discuss that with your slot? I have to see. Did I discuss about ROI pooling? Can anybody tell me? Did I discuss about ROI pooling? Anybody? I think not. Oh my god, I forgot. Because I think the other section I've discussed. Did I discuss about ROI pooling? I think, did I discuss the first of all fast RCN architecture? Come again, please make it fast. Did you discuss about fast RCN architecture?
Yes, sir, you said about that, sir.
Oh, the complete ROI pool related stuff I've told? No, I've discussed RCN and Shiva, but did I discuss ROI pool?
No, sir.
Oh my god. Shit. Because I was thinking that it was covered. I think in other section it was covered. I think I could have covered only the RCN in part B. The story was missing now. Oh, because I hate when I miss one point, because I could have asked in the beginning. Okay, fine. See, RCN, you know, I already discussed above. Where is that discussion? Yeah, here. Yeah. See, as of now, you just ignore this. Third one, where is faster RCN. Now, till this point, we're discussing about the selective search being used for the proposed boxes, and then each cropped portion of the box or each portion of the image that is present in the box is sent to CNN, and we apply SVM for detecting the object in the box, and we try to adjust the box coordinates using the regression models. Why we have to adjust? Because the proposed box that I have done using selective search may not always contain the complete object. So this maybe I have this example I've told. Maybe during proposal I've taken this box, but actually this should not be the case. The box should be adjusted like this. So this adjustment is done using regression models. So now, after doing all that, definitely this is time consuming because I'm passing each cropped image, each boxed image, each image that is present in the box to CNN. So there are 2000 boxes that I propose, 2000 times I have to pass to CNN. Now, what about fast RCNN? Again, just now I told, na, we pass the entire image. We pass the entire image to CNN, okay, and get the feature map. On the feature map, I am applying selective search. How beautifully the solution was designed. How beautifully the solution was designed. Why should I apply the proposals or the box, whatever the boxes that I'm proposing? Why should I apply in the image? Why can't I apply the boxes on the feature map? It's a great idea actually. Why? See, do you realize, guys, when I have input image, if this is the case, size of 1024, the number of boxes that you have to propose will be very, very high because its size is very, very high, 1024 cross 1024. But what happens if I just apply CNN? The output, do you realize, guys, after applying convolutional neural network, the size of the feature map, the understanding of the object will be less. Maybe it will be 200 across 200. Because it's an understanding, it's a generic representation of the understanding. For example, if a certain thing was there where I have to detect a person, I have to detect a person. I want to make my model detect person. So in that case, what it does is instead of representing the same thing after CNN, whenever I apply CNN here, it will be generic representation. Whether it will be something like this. It's a generic understanding, okay, of the input image. So definitely you'll have less sized width and height. Now, if I apply selective search and propose different sized boxes onto this feature map, the number of proposals also will be less. Not only that, in the other major disadvantage is earlier I used to pass the image that was present in the box. Now I'm not passing that. I'm just passing the entire image to CNN and I'm getting the output feature map. On the feature map, I'm proposing different boxes. That's the beauty. Okay. Now let us draw this architecture and we'll come to know. Okay. Just draw that. First thing is input image. As I told, we'll pass to CNN. Perfectly fine. Now, what I do is I'll apply a selective search algorithm again, but not on the input image. I'll be applying selective search onto the output of CNN. Whatever the output of CNN I have, the image that I have, the feature map that I have, onto that I'm just applying selective search. Now this selective search will actually propose different boxes onto the feature map. That is the output of CNN. Now I will actually extend this because it's not just proposing the boxes. Then what I have to do once I propose the boxes on the feature map, I have to again take each box and classify whether there is some object or not. Again, for the same box, I also need to adjust the coordinates. That means I need to propose regression coordinates x comma y comma w comma h for the box that I have here. Why? Because whatever the box that I'm proposing may not always contain the entire object. It may contain partial object. It may contain maybe we don't know. Their bounding box coordinates may not be so accurate. So that's the reason we also go for regression. Oh, is it that simple? See, sir, only one change, sir. Only one change from fast RCNN. Of course, there is one change is this change. First change is this, Nana. I'm passing the entire input image to the CNN. The second change is this. Earlier, I have used SVM model for further classifying whether an object exists in the box or not. I've used regression models, dedicated regression models, machine learning regression models to actually come up with X comma Y comma W comma H. But now only with these two small changes can I call this as really a drastic change and say that the performance will the time consumption is drastically reduced. Actually, the time consumption is drastically reduced because I'm passing the input image only once to the CNN. Perfectly fine. It is also reduced because I'm just extending my traditional CNN to actually give me the classification and regression outputs. Okay, so it's very, very simple. Then how do you do? Okay, if you want me to be very clear about this also, let me just tell you. See, I'll have a fully connected layer 1 where it will just tell the object class. Just see, till now, whatever the CNN I have, it is just feature extraction part. I already told C, M, C, C, M, convolution max split till the end of or till the start of the fully connected layers, whatever you have, that is actually feature extraction. So now I have not included fully connected layers in this feature extraction part. Now that I'm extending and actually I'm asking the system to again retrain the weights and detect the object in the box that was proposed. Again, I'll have one more fully connected layer. You can have only one more or two more. It's up to you. I'm just giving a glance. That's all. Here it will predict X, Y, W, H of the proposed box. Sir, already I know the proposed box coordinates. Sir, why it is predicting? See, it is not telling the proposed box coordinates. It is telling that how to adjust this box in such a way that it covers the entire object. See, these are the adjustments or the appropriate box sizes. Okay. Okay. This is basically the other difference, second difference. Okay. But actually, the biggest problem, guys, listen carefully. The biggest problem here is some errors you'll get it if you really do it. Some semantics are missing here. Something is missing here. Okay, so you just try to see where we have actually found that missing semantics. Okay, passing input image to CN is fine. Applying selective search to feature map is also fine. But I think something is missing at this point. At the feature map point, something is missing. Applying is not a big deal. We can apply. What is happening here? Something is missing. Something is. What is that? Okay, we'll see this. Actually, when I propose, this is my feature map. This is my feature map. When I propose certain boxes here, different sized boxes, what happens is the output after projecting will be having different sizes. See, it's basically same thing, Nana. See, if I have proposed this portion of the image, I'll be giving to FC1 and I'll be getting the object score. Now, if I take this box will have a different size. This is small box, and when this is same connected to this, I'll have a bigger box. Then what happens, guys? The number of weights between this guy and this guy will be less. The number of weights between this guy and this guy will be high. Yes or no? Because the box is high, the corresponding weights also will be high. Yes or no? Okay, let me just again be very, very specific. Okay, let us take, this is my feature map, and this is one of my box, and assume that this is 1024 cross. Okay, let us, this is a feature map. Let us take very small size feature map. Assume that this is 500 cross 500. In that I proposed one box where I may have some object in that. Maybe this is 20 cross 20, and I have another box which is actually 100 cross 100. Assume that these are the two boxes that I proposed. Now firstly I take 20 cross 20. 20 cross 20, can you pass this? See, you can consider this as image. 20 cross 20 sub image. But can you pass the image directly? No. You have to convert 20 cross 20. You have to flatten that. You have to flatten that. So that means totally how many weights you require? 20 cross 20 is obviously 400. So that means I will have 400 neurons. Because I flatten the pixels, right? 20 cross 20. Okay. Then this will be connected to maybe will be connected in a dense way. Maybe my fully connected layer is 1024. Now, how many weights are there between 400 to, because this is fully connected layer, Nana. How many weights will be there between these two layers? It is actually 400 cross 1024. Perfectly fine. Now, the same thing, let me just copy this, guys. You'll come to know. See, the analysis is beautiful. It's extremely beautiful. People will not tell all these things. If you search any blog or any YouTube or anything, I don't know. The explanation is not being comprehensive. So please focus on this. Unless until you don't know this explanation, you can't enjoy the subject. Because if I never seen, I don't know, yeah, deep learning everybody treats as a black box, but from the beginning of our course, we're trying to decode that black box and understand the reasoning behind it. Okay, now let me just copy it. If I am not telling any reason for anything, that means nobody knows that reason. There's certain things, because for example, there are certain instances why, like, sir, how did you choose filter size 3 by 3 instead of 5 by 5? If you ask that sort of things, nobody knows the answer. Even the people who invented those architectures from Google, Facebook, nobody knows, because it's an experimental trial and error, and they found out that 3 by 3 filter is best for first convolution layer, and 5 by 5 filter is better for second convolution layer, like that. Except those empirical evaluations, from the beginning of the course, we are going with reasonings. Okay, even now we'll go with that. Okay, so now what I have to do is, here I have 100 cross 100 this time. This time I have 100 cross 100. Now 100 cross 100, when you pass, definitely it will be very, very huge size. Okay, so now with that size, what happens? Okay, so size is different. What? So what? So what? Now the number of weights will be 10,000 cross 1024. Okay. For the first box, this is for the box one. The number of weights between the proposed box and the fully connected layer one is this one. And the second box, the weights are this. Now, what is the problem? If I have different size weights, what is the problem? Like this, I'll have other box where I'll have different sized weights. Again, box 4, different set of weights. Number of weights, I'm telling. What is the problem? Think now, think. This thought process will help you a lot, directly or indirectly. What is the problem if the number of weights are differing from one box to the other box? Okay. To tell you this answer, actually, I'll ask one question, which is one of my favorite questions that I tend to ask in interviews whenever I go for any startup interviews or any consultancies. So I take the interview, and this is whenever the other person candidate says that he's expert in deep learning, I tend to ask this question because the answer will not lie in the internet. Okay. See, the thing is, you remember, guys, the input image to CNN model should be actually resized according to the standard like requirements. For example, if it is VGG, Can you give any sized image to VGG directly? Directly? No, you have to resize. You have to resize. Now, what is the input size of VGG that was expected? VGG 16 or VGG 19. What is the input size that was expected? Minimum size that was expected? It is actually 224 cross 224. That means any image, I don't bother about your input image size. If you want to apply VGG, you need to resize all that images to 224 cross 224. Actually, nobody asked me in the lab, nobody asked me in the module 3, why should I resize? Why should I resize? Is it a mandate requirement? What happens if I don't resize? Shall we see that? Shall we see that? We'll see. Let us take I1 image, I2 image, and I3. Maybe I'll take only 2 images. I1 image is of size 500 cross 500. Okay. And this is of size maybe 700 cross 700. Now, firstly, I'll pass this image to VGG. As you know, I have to resize this image. Assume that the required image is 224 cross 224. I resized it. I resized this 500 cross 500 using this. To actually, I'll not say the complete VGG here. Let me, okay, as of now, let me call this VGG only. Then what happens? You're giving 224 cross 224 cross 224 image. You're giving 224 cross 224 image to the convolution 1 layer. Yes or no? Again, maybe you're applying. I'm not drawing the exact VGG sequence. I'm just drawing a random convolution, random max pool, but the same logic applies even for VGG. So again, I have one more convolution. Again, I have a max pooling. Again, I have a convolution. Again, I have max pooling. Again, like this, it goes on. Now, since I resized to the required VGG size, already you remember, guys, the VGG 16 that we have discussed will have a C1, the convolution layer output size, maybe is maybe something 112 cross 112. I'm not exactly writing the sizes, but assume that the standard size, the standard output size of convolution 1 is 112 cross 112. When you pass 224 cross 224 as input size. Again, after C2, okay, maybe it's still 112 cross 112. Maybe after max pooling, the size will reduce. Okay, maybe it is something like, you know, it depends on the stride and other stuff, but I'm just trying to tell. It's maybe assume that after max pooling, the output of C3 is 56 cross 56. Like this, it goes on. That means the sizes of the convolutions are fixed. 56 cross 56 will come at convolution layer 3 when you pass the input sizes 224 cross 224. That is fixed because input size is fixed. The output sizes after every convolution is also fixed. Perfectly fine. Okay. What happens if I don't give this? Assume that 700 cross 700 I'm giving without resizing. Without resizing to 224 cross 224, I'm just giving 700 cross 700 as it is. Oh, let us see what happens. Then definitely at C1 you'll have some output. Maybe it's 500 cross 500. It's not 112 cross 112. Then again in C2 also you may have 500 cross 500. Again you have a max pooling. Then you have at C3 it's not 56 cross 56. It's maybe 250 by 250. Oh, there's a drastic change in the output sizes if I don't resize the input size. Okay. So how are you bothered? Why are you so bothered about the convolution sizes? Whether it's 112 cross 112 or 500 cross 500, how do you actually see? Why do you actually bother? The bothering point, I'll tell you. If there are 112 cross 112, C1 to C2. Let us take the same thing. Okay, no problem. So 112 cross 112, 112 cross 112. Now, do you know that, guys, we already discussed the convolution architecture can also be represented in DNN form, in deep neural network form. Okay, so the number of connections between 112 cross, the number of connections between 112 cross 112 to 112 cross 112 will be assumed that X. The number of connections, of course, there are sparse connections, they are not dense connections like DNN. Assume that the number of connections between these two guys are X. Now let's take the C1, this part, C1 part of this one, where I have 700 cross, okay, 500 cross 500 cross 500, and other C2 output is also having 500 cross 500. Now these connections will definitely not equal to X. The number of weights between this C1 and C2 is not equal to X, is not equal to X. Okay, fine, but I could not find out the issue. How I'm bothered about different number of weights. The reason, very simple reason, Nana. See, it's like I have certain weights here, W1, W2, W3. Only assume that there are only 3 weights. Since the size is more here, you will have more weights. W1, W2, W3, W4, W5. Now, only 3 weights are there here because the size is less. Assume that. See, 3 in the sense you will not have 3. I'm just giving a number. So C1 to C2, assume that there are 3 weights. But in C1 to C2, when you have bigger sized outputs, you may have greater than 3. New weights are W4 and W5, but these new weights are specific to image 2. Then you will have image 3, then you will have new weights. Image 4, new weights. Image 5, new weights. For each image in your data set, can you get the stable weights? For each image, you're getting new weights. That new weights are pertaining to one image only. Again, second image, new weights. Third image, new weights. Fourth image, new weights. Single, if I try or if I update my weights or if I introduce new weights for one image, then the weights that I get will not be stable. Will not be stable, guys. Will never be stable. Instead, if I use same weights, W1, W2, W3 here, I use the same W1, W2, W3 here because this W1, W2, W3, when it is getting trained, it understands the general pattern of image 1. But some mistakes it will learn, and that experience, see, I do some mistakes, that experience is given to next image, and I say that, Arey Baba, for second image, W1 has to change slightly. But by the end of this, I'll have the same W1, W2, W3, even after 1000 images or 10,000 images or 1 lakh images in my data set. That means I'm reusing the same weights. I'm updating or I'm trying to find out I'm trying to find out a combination. I'm trying to find out a combination of weights which can lead to the minimal loss. I'm not trying to introduce new weights for every image. That means I'm retraining, reusing the weights, adjusting the weight combinations to ensure that I get a minimal loss. But that is not happening here. When I pass different sized images, I'm getting different number of weights at every layer. Then in that case, introducing new weights for every image is definitely time consuming and you may not get the stable weights. Then what is the solution? What is the solution, guys? You know the solution, guys. The solution is padding and striding. You know padding and striding, right? Now, to ensure that even though you pass any image size, I don't mind, but I'll ensure that, for example, your image to size is 700 cross 700, but I expect my C1 output to be of size what? My C1 output to be of size 112 cross 112. Now, for this, to get resultant padding C1 for image 1, to get 112 cross 112, I have padding is equal to 1, stride is equal to 1. Assume that. Now, to result the same size 112 cross 112, maybe you require padding is equal to 2, stride is equal to 3. I don't know. I'm just writing randomly. But even though irrespective of image size, you will get the same output size at C1. Then what happens? At C2 also I can apply appropriate padding and striding to get again 112 cross 112 or any size. That is same as the standard sizes. I always ensure that irrespective of my image size, I ensure that the convolution sizes are always same. How do I do it? Because I have a flexibility of changing, this padding and striding at each convolution, so that the convolution output sizes will be equal to the standard convolution sizes. Oh, nice. Then weights will be same. So here also W1, W2, W3 will be there. Here also the same number of weights. W1, W2, W3 will be there. Then I'll be reusing the weights, update. My weights by the end of the epoch will be very, very, very stable. Then I think that makes sense. Perfect. Reusing the same weights irrespective of the number of images. That's a beautiful concept. But will it be applicable even for the fully connected layers? Let us see that. Nana. The first image is a standard image, 224 cross 224. 224 cross 224. Okay. Now, if you reach to the fully connected layer 1 and fully connected layer 2, assume that. Now, fully connected layer, assume that this is 1024 and this is 1024. And the last layer, assume that in the standard VGG, I'm not writing exact standard VGG output. Assume that this last size is 5 cross 5. 5 cross 5 is connected to FC1 and FC1 is connected to FC2. Now, I'm also trying to replicate my standard image size. Even though my input size is different, I'm ensuring that I will use the right padding and striding to ensure that this is equal, everything is equal. But I similarly, with my flexibility in padding and striding, I do 5 cross 5. I do 5 cross 5. Now, here, one thing you need to remember, when I'm trying to do this, in this process, the number of neurons will vary at some point. Where? Number of neurons will vary at some point. The number of weights, not neurons, sorry. The number of weights will vary at some place. Where is that? See, for convolution outputs, even though my image size is different, I am getting same sized convolutions because of padding and striding. But do I have that flexibility? With fully connected layers? I don't have it, right? I don't have that flexibility at fully connected layers because there is no padding and striding applied with the fully connected layers. Okay, so something need to be done with this. How do we handle this problem? Think. See, basically, when you have different set of weights at the last layer where you don't have the possibility of changing the number of weights, then definitely you need to ensure that the number of weights here and here are same. For that, actually one thing I would like to conclude here, guys, whenever you are trying to resize or don't resize, the output of the feature extraction part remains the same. The sizes after the feature extraction remains the same because of padding and striding. But it is not the case. It is not the case with the fully connected layers, because fully connected layers do not have the concept of padding and striding. Okay, so they will have their own set of weights. Then the number of weights will differ. Okay, so that should not be the case, and somehow we should handle it. So why I'm discussing all this story, you'll come to know now. See, it's very, very intuitive now. Now, guys, this is the main theme now. Whether you understood that or not, let us come back to this point. Here, I'm giving different sized boxes. Different sized boxes. The same. I think you'll come to know, know more clarity here. See, I have given first sized box, which is very reasonable in size. It's very small. And when I flatten this, assume that I have 25 neurons. Because I have to flatten it, right? I have 24 neurons. My first FC1, one of my fully connected layers has 1024. Now, how many connections are there between these two guys? 25 cross 1024. Now, the other part, the other next image, next bounding box. When I flatten this, assume that it's 50 neurons are there. So, see, 50 neurons again are connected to 1024. So, how many are there between these guys? This is 50, this is 1024. How many connections? 50 cross 1024. That should not be the case. Here, the number of weights are 25 cross 1024. Here, the number of weights are 50 cross 1024. Again, that is a problem, right? It should not be the case. That is the reason, actually, the people who came up with fast RCNN introduced a concept called ROI pooling. Only to tell you this, I have to tell all this story. So what exactly ROI pooling does? ROI pooling ensures that even though your number of weights is 25 cross 1024 or 50 cross 1024, that means whenever the number of weights are differing between the layers, ROI pooling basically ensures that the number of weights are same. The number of weights are same. How? That we will see now. ROI pooling is just again, I'm telling guys, ROI pooling is just a max pooling. Is just a max pooling. Just a max pooling applied on the bounding box, because it's a region of interest. ROI pooling. ROI pooling. Region of interest pooling. What is region of interest? The box. Okay. Applied on the box, proposed box. Now, what I do is, I try to extract, I try to perform okay. Let us take a simple example here. Here I have a box. In that I'm proposing one box which is of maybe 10 cross 10. I have another box which is of 12 cross 12. These are two boxes that I proposed in the feature map. Okay, now I'm just taking 10 cross 10. I'm taking 10 cross 10. I'm performing a max pool of size maybe 5 cross 5. Can I perform max pooling of 5 cross 5 on this 10 cross 10? Yes, you can perform. Then after this, assume that you get an output of x and out, because after you perform max pooling, your width and height will reduce. So you got the output as x comma y. Okay. Now I just take 12 cross 12 and I applied 5 cross 5, then I would again get x comma y, because I'm just taking the 5 cross 5. See, my max pooling box is constant here. So I'm just taking the max pooling of size 5 cross 5 on 10 cross 10 or 12 cross 12 to get the same size x comma y. See, the adjustments of padding and striding will be done here to get the same size x comma y. Okay, so that means if the x comma y is constant for any box, of course you're losing some information, because so I lose certain information here, but that will handle later. But actually we are trying to get the x comma y. So once I have same sized outputs irrespective of the box, same sized outputs irrespective of the box, the number of weights between this and the number of weights between this is also same. If the number of weights are same for every image or every box, then I no need to introduce new weights. I can retrain the same weights and come up with the solution. So this is the main theme of ROI pooling. ROI pooling. So once I have the ROI pool, once I have ROI pooling, so what we do is actually all these things can be erased, and simply I can, if you see the textbooks, you'll see is simply one box added as ROI pool. Now what exactly ROI pooling does? It takes different sized boxes, okay, and out of these different sized boxes, it will apply a max pool. It's ROI pool is nothing but basically a max pool applied on different sized boxes to ensure that all the boxes will have same size. The output of ROI pool is multiple boxes of the same size, multiple boxes of the same size. Okay, even though the proposed boxes are of different sizes, after applying max pooling on these different sized boxes, max pooling on different sized boxes, I would get same sized outputs. So like that, you will adjust your max pooling layer. It can be sometimes 2 by 2, it is sometimes 3 cross 3, it can be sometimes 5 cross 5. Okay, so at the end of the day, I want all the outputs to be of same size. Now these regions are sent to fully connected layers for classification, and the same box is sent to another set of fully connected layers to perform regression. The same thing is done for every box. Same thing is done for every box. Same thing is done for every box. So this is actually fast RCNN. Why it is faster? Because I passed the entire input image to CNN, and I'm performing CNN only once. And the second difference is I'm just extending my CNN architecture to perform classification and regression instead of using dedicated models. And the third like difference between traditional RCNN and fast RCNN is you have a concept of ROI pooling to ensure that they have same sized boxes irrespective of your different sized boxes. The output of ROI pool is same sized feature maps, and that are given to fully connected layers to perform classification and regression. So these are three differences which made fast RCNN to be really fast than traditional RCNN. But again, what is the drawback here? I'm actually doing the proposals. I'm actually proposing the boxes using selective search. In reality, these boxes can be 20,000, sometimes 30,000, sometimes 40,000. Number of overlapping boxes like this. If you see, like boxes will be completely covering the image. It will be that many boxes. Okay, so in that situation, definitely the selective search algorithm is degrading my performance of fast RCNN. Now somehow I need to automate this selective search algorithm, which is possible with CNN. So I'm even applying, I want to propose the boxes. With CNN. Earlier I classified the object in the box. I could find out the coordinates of the box using CNN. Now I'm telling that even the box proposals should be done by CNN. So which is basically reduces a lot of time, and the people call this as faster RCNN. Okay, so where we started initially this point. So we'll discuss the architecture later in the next class. In the next class we'll complete fast RCNN and then jump to YOLO. Okay, we'll see that. So that's all for the day, guys, and let me stop the recording and take your questions.